Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the MMA Corner post-fight recap. Coming to you live on the heels of UFC Fight Night 50, Jacare versus Mousasi. As always, tonight's episode is brought to you by BattleBomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power, battlebomb.com. Check them out. Audio for tonight's episode is powered by Soul, Power, Clarity, Comfort, Soul Electronics. Get you some. Also, check out Mousasi. Love their product. Newest sponsor to the MMA Corner. I'm your host, Josh Davis, alongside Justin Fuller and Jason Shelkey. I don't even know where to start, guys. So, Jason, give us your overall thoughts on the show.
It was a really good show. I mean, it was a free show on Fox. I mean, any of these fights, they could have been on a pay-per-view card, and any of the main card bouts could have been on a pay-per-view, and no one would have complained whatsoever. So to get it free, that's just a big bonus.
Justin.
I definitely agree. I mean, the main event and co-main event could have been co-main events to a pay-per-view. Every fighter on that main card is pay-per-view main event worthy, and when you get 4 finishes in all main card fights and then 6 straight finishes throughout the card, that's a good night of fights.
Yeah, it is a good night of fights. It's almost as good as looking at you in that little wife beater of yours with the kitty cats on it. That's pretty solid. But no, all in all, great night of fights. A bunch of knockouts, finishes galore. I don't know if you could ask for anything more. Now, if you wanted more, you could have switched over to a different channel and also watched some great fights. So tonight goes solid night fights leading into Invicta tomorrow, and then all the fights coming up next week. So UFC is doing the fans justice. They're giving the fans everything they could want and more. So let's get right into it. All right, first fight of the evening, Michael Chiesa versus Joe Lozon. Shoki, why don't you start us on this one?
Man, I got to give props to both these guys. They both came out there. They were fighting. This was a scrap, and to Micah, to Chestnut's credit, that gash he had on his forehead that looked like he was about to give birth to a cow or something, and he didn't. And the dude's still pissed when the fight's over with. I mean, it just shows you what type of testicular fortitude that guy's got. And I mean, Joe Lozon, he's never been at that elite level, but he's always just one of those really nice, stable lightweights. Kind of like, I guess, gatekeeper type status, I guess would be the best way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, props to both guys. It was a really fun fight to watch.
Justin, get in here.
I definitely think if it wasn't for the other 3 great fights, these guys would have been a lock for performance bonuses. Lozon got the win. I'm not going to say it was a bad stoppage, but like Chiesa said, Lozon's been in that same situation before, and we've seen it happen that way. So I don't think anything gets taken away from Chiesa. I think he proved a lot in that fight, that he could compete at that level. And while he was starting to get rocked pretty good there before the stoppage, I think this fight could have gone on, and it could have gone either way. And I'd like to see the rematch. If not, I think Chiesa proved he can compete at that level. But, I'm still going to bet money Lozon's getting his Joe Lozon money with a performance bonus.
Now, for those of you who don't know it, Justin is actually in Colorado right now, staying with me. We were watching this fight together, and at the end of the first round, said that it, could have gone either way. I gave it to Lozon, but it's whatever. Justin said that he thought Chiesa had stole it with his little flurry. When the fight got stopped, I immediately said, I brought up the Jim Miller fight that Chiesa was alluding to, and no, I did not think that this fight should have been stopped. I thought he should have been allowed to continue. Yes, the blood going into his eye would not have been good for him, but we've seen guys fight with much worse cuts, much bloodier cuts, that kind of stuff. I'm not a doctor, but he wanted to continue. I thought the fight should have continued. Either way, though, the round and a half that we saw was a solid fight. If they do a rematch, I would definitely love to see it. But kudos to Joe Lozon. Everything that he had to go through. Obviously, if you watch the card, you got to see the little documentary. But everything he had to go through to get this victory, it was solid. And kudos to Chiesa, because he was proving that he can compete. He was obviously the bigger, strong guy. I would have liked to seen this fight continue. But with that being said, Lozon got the victory. Hats off to both of them. Good fight. All right, let's move on to, I guess, 41 seconds of whatever. Matt Meathead Mitrione versus Derek the Blackest. Justin, start us off on this one.
I think this fight proved a lot. It proved that Lewis still has a lot of work to do before he can be considered, a steady heavyweight for the UFC. And Mitrione proved that he's still improving and that styles make fights. And this was a guy built for him to look good in that fight. And like he said, if he's not ranked now, he definitely will be higher. And I don't know. I just can't say anything really bad about Mitrione, and I really can't say anything good about Lewis, but the fight didn't go long enough for me to get an honest assessment anyway.
Well, if you watch the show on Thursday, I picked Derek Lewis to win this fight. I thought he'd be able to basically manhandle Matt Mitrione like he had everybody else. I was wrong. When you have two big, heavy-handed heavyweights, someone's going to sleep, and it usually happens rather quickly, and that's what happened here. Mitrione caught him cleanly, and then caught him cleanly again a few more times upside the hole, and was able to get the finish. I guess the lesson learned is don't call out the meathead, because when you do, that's when he shows up. Going all the way back to the Ultimate Fighter, I can't remember who called him out, but the former football player called him out and ended up getting knocked
Big
out.
Baby?
Yeah, there we go. Ended up getting knocked out in the finale. So don't call out Meathead. That's all I can say. It's just not a good move. Catch him on the rebound or something like that, but don't specifically call him out. All kidding aside, he went hood. He did his thing. He's got his flavor going. He's rocking it. Congratulations to Meathead. Solid victory. Obviously, Derek Lewis will be back. The heavyweight division is pretty thin. He's still a guy with punching power, so we'll see him again. Shelky, give us your thoughts.
Dude, Meathead's going to have a DJ Khaled walking out with him in his next fight, and he's going to be sponsored by World Star Hip Hop. That's what I got to say about that. But, in all seriousness, that was... I mean, I've never seen someone get knocked out by a forearm punch before, and that's what knocked Lewis out. I mean, it was a straight forearm punch. You guys picked Lewis, or Josh picked Lewis to win, but Mitrione, he has that ridiculous power that he can put anybody to sleep with one punch.
Yeah, I picked Mitrione.
Okay, you picked you. I would have picked Mitrione if I was here, but yeah, I mean, the dude, yeah, he kind of lives by the door, dies by the sword. He's either going to knock out or he's going to get knocked out. And, that makes for an exciting fighter. World Star, baby.
No, and yeah, Justin picked Mitrione. Like I said, I picked Derek Lewis. I just figured, Mitrione, he has looked good. He had one victory since his loss to Schaub, and it was a quick knockout. And so I thought Lewis would be able to test him. I was wrong. He ate a forearm, and now I'm eating crow. So it is what it is. Now, moving right along to Alistair Overeem and Big Ben Rothwell. Shelky, go ahead and start us off on this one.
Okay, well, I found this out tonight, thanks to our lovely friends on Twitter. Okay, so every time we, been on our prediction show or our post-fight show and Big Nog's been on the card, we generally call, win or lose, it's time for Big Nog to give it up. Well, guess who's been knocked out more times in their career? Big Nog or Alistair Overeem?
Well, there's no that would be us.
Oh, it's Alistair Overeem by far.
Oh.
And so I think now, I mean, we're talking all the time about, Big Nog should go, Big Nog should retire, blah, blah, blah. now people close to Overeem should probably be talking to him about seriously, you know, considering another line of work, because it's getting kind of scary seeing him get repeatedly knocked out. And it's not even really hard punches that were knocking him out. I mean, Rothwell, he did land a couple good shots, but that punch that knocked him out wasn't the biggest punch we'd ever seen landed on Overeem before. So
It's a big guy throwing a punch, though, so there's a lot of force behind that you can't see on the camera.
well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, obviously with Rothwell, but I mean, that's just my take on it. I don't like, I'm a big fan of the knockout, but when it's the same person that's happening to over and over and over again, then I don't enjoy seeing knockouts anymore.
Fuller, give us your thoughts.
I'm going to have to agree there. I mean, I think I got a little bit of, like I was telling you yesterday when we were watching the game, like, MMA has ruined me for other contact sports, because when I see someone get whooped so badly like the Packers, it makes me feel bad for them. Like, why doesn't the ref call off the match, right? Well, like Shilky was saying, that's the exact same way I saw this Overeem fight. I can't even feel good for Rothwell, because it's depressing to see this happen to Overeem. And like I told Josh right after that happened, I said he's done. They're not going to want to keep paying money for a guy who can't even beat guys at that level. No disrespect for Rothwell, but he's always been a mid-card journeyman heavyweight. So where does he go from here? There's really no strong stable of heavyweights in any other organization. And then we started throwing out the prospects of, well, there's the European-Japanese circuit, Satoshi Ishii, Crow Cop, and then Josh said naturally, that might drag Fedor out of retirement. So if nothing else, hopefully we can get that fight because of this.
Seriously, that's about all there is left for Overeem. I always have said that he is way overrated. If you have followed the MMA Corner, if you've listened to any of the radio shows, watched any of these shows, I've always said that he's overrated. And now that we know that he's not using steroids, we see it. He's
all natural.
He doesn't have the same punching power. He's just not the same fighter. He doesn't manhandle people like he used to. And watching him get knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights. Antonio Silva, excuse me, Travis Brown, and then tonight, and then his victory over Frank Mir. And to be real honest, I love Frank Mir more than anyone, but that's not a huge quality victory these days. Frank Mir's been done for a long time. So I don't know what Alistair does from here. I don't see him coming back to the UFC at the money that they pay him. There's no way. If he wants to drop down to like an 80-80 contract or something like that, then maybe. But I just don't know. And I don't see him going to Bellator. So we'll have to see what happens with Alistair's future. As far as Big Ben goes, great victory. Can't take anything away from him. He did his thing. I don't know if he looked better knocking Overeem out or doing his little dance over Overeem at the end. I mean, I'm going back and forth. It was pretty slick either way. He got his little hop step in there. Looked good doing both of them. So kudos to Ben. He'll probably get a decent fight next. I don't know if it's going to happen, but Justin mentioned a fight to me between Big Ben and Roy Nelson. They fought back in the IFL. I'd like to see the fight again. I think it would kind of make sense, but I don't think the UFC will go that route. I'm sure they'll be doing something different.
Or Meathead, he's going to be ready to fight.
Yeah, that's a good call there too.
But I did get a news alert that Rothwell broke his arm blocking a kick earlier in the fight.
Well, there you go. Broken arm, that'll definitely keep him out at least 6 weeks before he can even start training. So who knows? Like I said, we'll just have to see how it goes. All right, moving right along to the main event. Jacare, Mousasi. Fuller, start us off.
Man, talk about eating crow, though. I mean, this fight went the way we thought it would if Jacare could get it to the ground. I thought Mousasi's wrestling defense was going to be better than that, and I didn't think Jacare was going to look that good at it, even though he had the come-up fight. I just thought, hey, Mousasi's on another level. And when Mousasi was in the center of the cage, that's when he was able to land some stuff. But he allowed himself to get backed up, couldn't sprawl properly against the takedown, got pushed against the cage, systematically taken down, had his weight on him, had his strength tested. That took a lot out of him to defend that Kimura, and then was taking damage the whole time. He was in the fight up until the end. And, that choke opened up. He went for it, and that was that. I will say this, Jacare looked a lot better than I thought he was going to. I think he's a threat in the division. But watching the way that fight played out, I don't think he could do the same thing to Machida, which means he definitely couldn't do the same thing to Weidman.
Shelty.
You know how whenever Vitor Belfort fights, a lot of people, they still do the whole new Vitor, the old Vitor, which one's going to show up. We need to come up with some metaphor like that for Gegard and Mousasi, because it's either he shows up big time and he highly impresses, or he looks like he's sleepwalking during the entire fight. And this was one of those fights where it looked like he didn't have the passion. It's like he was just going through the motions, that it was almost like he didn't want to be there. He's like, oh, God, I got to fight Jacare, okay. Out there. And, wrecking fools, like we know he can do because we've seen it time and time again. But Mousasi is one of those fighters that it pisses me off to watch, because you know that the guy has so much talent. You know that it's all there. He has all the makings to be one of the best, if not the best, middleweight in the world, but he can never put it all together, and it's so aggravating as a fan to watch that. Now, Jacare, I mean, I was impressed by how he could just, school Mousasi on the ground. I mean, once he got that top position, he was on him. I mean, he was worse than Ben Askren, man. You could not get him off of you for, he couldn't get him off.
Hey, it was better looking than Ben Askren. Okay.
Okay.
He was advancing position, attempting submissions.
Okay, we'll leave Ben Askren.
Damage.
But I agree with you, Justin. I think that Jacare is going to be kind of stuck right here, because he's not doing that to Machida. He's not doing that to Weidman. So I think Souza's firmly submitted himself as the number 3 middleweight in the division.
I love Jacare. I really do. But you guys both hammered at home, so I'm not going to. He is not going to be able to do that to the elite of the division. I don't even think he's going to be able to do that to Vitor, so I can't even consider him number 3. I would probably put him at number 4. Nor do I think he could do that to Anderson if Anderson can stand. So I don't know. Jacare's in a tough position, but he did look good tonight. Got another quality victory, and even though we don't think that he can do that stuff against those guys, here's the thing. He's earned the opportunity to prove us wrong. That's all I'm going to say. He's earned the opportunity to
100% agree.
And say, you know what, you guys at the MMA Corner, shut your frickin' mouths. You don't know what you're talking about. Or however they say that in Portuguese. So, he's earned that right. So I'll certainly give it to him. I don't think he can do it, though. But, again, he's earned that right. Mousasi, on the other hand, he is another guy, and I get hammered every time I say this. I do think he's overrated.
You're right, he is.
He's a guy who's had some quality wins a long time ago and that kind of stuff, but sport has passed him by. He has not evolved. And while he is a great kickboxer and striker, that kind of stuff, he's not an elite level MMA guy. And yes, he beat Mark Munoz. Well, guess what? Well, I don't really care, because Mark Munoz is also overrated. So the tough guys that he's fought, he's lost. And so I don't know where Mousasi goes from here, but we'll see. I know he'll get another tough fight, and hopefully he'll rebound, but I think he's overrated. Shelky, what you got?
Yeah. The moment that I actually thought that Mousasi was overrated is whenever he had that draw with Keith Jardine in Strikeforce. That was like the first time we saw Mousasi, like this form of Mousasi that we saw tonight, that we've seen, inconsistently, I guess, over the years. I mean, once we all saw that fight against Jardine, someone that he should have just whooped up one side down the other, something was up.
April 9th, 2011, Diaz versus Daly was the card. And yeah, he could barely. I mean, he was winning the fight obviously until he got the illegal point for the up kick, but still, Jardine was in that fight. It was going back and forth, and no, he's just not the fighter that everyone thinks that he is. That everybody gives him credit to be. He's not that guy. He isn't, or at least in my mind, he isn't. And tonight again, it was proven. So. I don't know. Again, we'll see him in another top fight. Now that we know that Michael Bisping and Luke Rockhold going at it, we'll have to see what they're going to do with Mousasi, because really a Bisping Mousasi matchup kind of made sense, but we'll have to see what they do. Maybe they'll give him Kung Lee, so he can beat another guy that makes him look good. So who knows how it's going to go.
You laugh. I was literally sitting here thinking, when one of you threw out, like, well, who does he fight? I thought to myself, well, Dallas Leites called out Bisping, but now Bisping's tied up. That's a good fight. But you know what? Kung Lee would be a good one. Stylistically, makes sense. Big name fight. He can headline an Asian card, then go back to Macau, have a good time at the beautiful casino we always hear about that we don't get to see in America because our economy sucks. Thanks a lot for Cheetah Brothers. You're a part of that. So, all kidding aside. I don't think Mousasi's overrated. I just think styles make fights, and he was still in this fight up to that third round. It just didn't work out in his favor, and I think he can still hang with a lot of the top guys in the division. It's just unfortunate there's not a whole lot that are available right now, so we might see him versus C.B. Dalloway or Talis Leites, or he could fight like the Rafael Nadals of the division too, just to work his way back up the ladder.
Well, I think, to be honest, if that fight was announced, Talis Leites versus Mousasi, I'm picking Leites. I think obviously Leites could control him on the ground if he chose to, and with his improved striking, I think he could stand with him on the feet at least enough to get the clinch and get the fight to the ground. The other thing that Mousasi proved to me tonight is he's definitely got to work on his cardio at 185 pounds, because he was totally gassed. He had no energy to even try and defend his neck. He completely gave it out there, allowed himself to get choked because he was so tired. Also against Machida, he got very tired very quickly. So making 185 pounds is obviously taking its toll on his cardio. So he needs to figure out a way to fix that. Otherwise, he is not going to be able to compete with these elite level fighters, because he's not going to be able to deal with the pace or the strength. So I think Mousasi's got some work to do. I still stand by my statement that he's overrated. All right, final thoughts on the card, guys. Let's start off with you, Shelky.
It was a good card, top to bottom. A lot of entertaining fights from the prelims on up. Really no boring moments. And on a side note, I'm waiting for the UFC to re-sign Paul Daly, Rousimar Palhares, and Jason High. Thank you. World star.
Oh, hold on. Why? Because they brought back Thiago?
Yep.
The charges were dropped, man. He's innocent. It never happened. All right, Polar, give us your thoughts.
Well, before Mr. Stone Thrower over here, is allowed to talk again, let me just wrap it up by saying, good night at fights. We were flipping back and forth ourselves because there was a lot of action on TV tonight, but UFC did not fail to deliver, and you can't complain about that. That's two great cards back to back. Let's keep this streak going through the end of the season.
I could not agree more. It was an excellent night of fights. It was an excellent card. Again, the UFC bringing it to us. Now, housekeeping notes, because it is Friday. Normally we're doing this on Saturday. There is a lot of things going on. Tomorrow on UFC Fight Pass, you have Invicta 8, Watterson versus Tamada, so definitely make sure that you check that out. Then next Friday, the 12th, you have ONE FC 20, Rise of the Kingdom. That'll be live online pay-per-view Friday morning, so definitely check that out. Then Friday night, you have Bellator 124, Newton versus Beltran. You also have RFA 18-man Daenerys versus Pantoja, so definitely check that out. Then on Saturday, Jesus, guys, we still have a whole lot of stuff going on. Cage Warrior 72, which will be on Facebook and MMA. Check that out. You have UFC Fight Night 51, Bigfoot versus Orlovsky 2. That's on Fight Pass. Then you have World Series of Fighting 13. More as far as Bollinger stepping up on short notice. So a whole ton of fights coming up next week. We will be back Wednesday night. I'm sorry, we will be back Thursday night giving you our breakdown predictions for UFC Fight Night 51, Bigfoot versus Orlovsky 2. So, guys, I don't know what to say. Did I leave anything out there? There's a whole lot in there.
Nothing nothing that soon. We'll re-announce some stuff next week.
Now, in the meantime, if I didn't get to everything, go to the MMAcorner.com, your home for all things MMA. Everything you need to know is right there. We will have full video highlights from tonight's events as soon as they get posted. So, again, like I said, definitely check out the MMAcorner.com, your home for all things MMA. We want to thank our sponsors, Battle Bomb, Mousasi, and Soul. For Jason Shelkey, Justin Fuller, I'm Josh Davis. Keep living the MMA Corner lifestyle.